WWE Dream Matches should, in theory, be reserved for television or pay-per-view. If fans are dreaming about it, they are likely to tune in or stump up the funds in order to watch it, and if built up properly, Dream Matches can end up setting records. On occasion, however, WWE books such matches when cameras aren't rolling, either at a non-televised live event or in a dark match following a TV taping. Great for the fans that were there on the night, sure, but also bitterly disappointing for jealous fools like me who weren't there but would love to have seen these mouth-watering contests. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 WWE Dream Matches that weren't televised. Join us. Number 10, Randy Savage vs. The Undertaker. By rights, Randy Savage and The Undertaker should have had at least one televised match in 1991, with the Macho Man seeking revenge on the dead man for his part in crashing Randy and Miss Elizabeth's wedding reception at SummerSlam. The two Hall of Famers never clashed on television, but they did meet in a trio of singles matches, all three of them taking place before Taker and Jake Roberts decided to ruin the best day of Savage's life. The first was a bonus non-televised dark match at the end of the July 30th primetime wrestling television taping, with Randy going over to send the crowd home happy. A few clips from this match have been released by WWE for their 5 Things series, but the full thing remains unseen. The other two bouts were house show headliners just days later on August 1st and 2nd in New Brunswick, Canada and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Phenom won the first outing and Savage prevailed in the second. WWE surely must have at least considered a program between the two larger-than-life personalities, but it never came to be. Number 9, Batista and Shawn Michaels vs. Ric Flair and Triple H. When Batista beat former mentor Triple H to capture the World Heavyweight title in the main event of WrestleMania 21, he was expected to pull the wagon going forward, representing the Raw brand and, by extension, the company as the guy. That meant headlining the traditional post-WrestleMania tour of Europe, though he wouldn't have to carry the load all by himself. While a few nights of the tour had the Animal go over on the game and Ric Flair in 2-on-1 handicap matches, the rest of them saw Big Dave team up with Shawn Michaels to take on H&H in a blockbuster tag match. That is a pay-per-view quality doubles bout right there, and fans in Aberdeen, Newcastle and Nottingham must have been thrilled to get it. One of the matches from my adopted home of the Toon, Howay the Lads, has surfaced in fan cam form and shows the 4 superstars putting in a real shift for close to 30 minutes before the babyfaces triumph. WWE never booked the bout stateside or bothered to put it in front of the cameras. The fools. Number 8, Brock Lesnar vs. Kevin Owens. Some things just look cool on a marquee. The Beast Incarnate versus the Prize Fighter would certainly fall into that category, though WWE have thus far failed to book the match on television or pay-per-view. Despite being a big show player, Brock Lesnar has been known to work select house shows since his 2012 return. Feeling the need to beef up their card for their Madison Square Garden stop on the road to WrestleMania 33, WWE put Brock in the ring with Kevin Owens on March 12, 2017. It was a combination befitting the world's most famous arena, even if the match didn't go on last. That honor went to Bray Wyatt defending his WWE title against John Cena in a no DQ match. And even though KO had only lost the Universal title to Goldberg a week prior and was considered a main eventer at the time, Lesnar characteristically ate him up in just a couple of minutes with the usual German suplexes followed by an F5. You can watch the match via fan-filmed footage on YouTube, but WWE really ought to run this one back one day, preferably with cameras rolling and a more substantial runtime. Number 7, Bret Hart vs. Owen Hart in an Iron Man match. Brothers Bret and Owen had one of the top rivalries of 1994, which included having 2 of the best matches of the year on pay-per-view. Their opener at WrestleMania 10 was a technical classic with a surprise finish, while their WWE title cage match at SummerSlam was a blue bar masterpiece. The Hitman and the Rocket were just so good together, I could have watched them go at it for an hour. And if I had been in one of a handful of house shows in the summer of 1994, I would have, because WWE booked the warring siblings in Iron Man match main events with Bret's title at stake. WWE had yet to televise an Iron Man match at that point, the first one coming when the Excellence of Execution took on HBK in the WrestleMania 12 headliner. Prior to Bret's Iron Man duels with Owen, he had gone the distance with the 60-minute man himself, Ric Flair, in early 1993. Bret retained his title in all 4 of his matches with Owen, winning 2 of them 3 falls to 2 and the others 2 falls to 1. One of them is out there in the wild in fan cam form, for those of you who are into that sort of thing, which I hope is everyone watching this video. Number 6, Steve Austin vs Eddie Guerrero. Steve Austin's infamous June 2002 walkout of WWE robbed us of seeing him go one-on-one with Eddie Guerrero at the King of the Ring pay-per-view. Stone Cold and Latino Heat were on a collision course when Austin decided to take his ball and go home, leaving Eddie to wrestle Ric Flair instead. I mean, as far as consolation prizes go, I've heard of worse. The Texas Rattlesnake had personally requested to work with the freshly returned Guerrero at the event because he felt that he needed an in-ring boost after experiencing a bit of a lull. As is often the case, WWE gave them time to work out the kinks in the run-up to it, and Austin vs Eddie headlined 4 house shows. Incredibly, some fans who got to see it in Winnipeg were reportedly upset because the originally advertised main event had been Austin vs Undertaker in a cage. Taker ended up beating Van Dam in a cage instead. I've always said you can never trust someone from Winnipeg, you idiots. Anyway, Austin won all of their matches and gave Eddie and an interfering Flair multiple stunners before drinking a few cold cans of alcoholic lager beer. Oh, heck yes! Number 5, John Cena vs Samoa Joe. John Cena and Samoa Joe pretty much broke into the business together, training and wrestling at the California-based UPW promotion in the early 2000s. UPW acted as a WWE feeder farm of sorts, and both men were on the company's radar, though only Cena was signed to a developmental deal, while the Samoan Submission Machine made his name on the Indies, in Japan, and for TNA, before making the transition to WWE via NXT in 2015. Joe and Cena carry with them a big fight feel due to their style and legacy, so a match between the two on a WWE stage was an appealing prospect indeed. We have been teased with it a couple of times, in a tag scrap featuring Roman Reigns and The Miz on Raw, and in the 2017 Men's Traditional Survivor Series elimination match where Cena eliminated Joe, but the only singles matches between them went down on house shows in Illinois and Arkansas. Cena won both, of what were said to be very hard-hitting matches. With Joe now in AEW and Cena wrestling once in a blue moon, the chances of this match happening again are about as good as you catching me in the next man's sweater. Number 4, Rey Mysterio, KANE and The Undertaker vs Edge, Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle. Thrilled by the response they received when they taped Raw and SmackDown from the Saitama Super Arena in February of 2005, WWE returned to the location for a pair of back-to-back non-televised super shows in July. Showcasing the best of both rosters, WWE presented some major matches for fans in the land of the rising sun, like Shawn Michaels vs Chris Jericho and Batista defending the World Heavyweight title against Triple H in a street fight. The biggest of the bunch, at least from a star power perspective, was an inter-brand 6-man from Night 2. Rey Mysterio teamed with the Brothers of Destruction to take on the dastardly trio of Eddie Guerrero, Edge and Kurt Angle, who were accompanied by Lita, just to add another Hall of Famer into the mix there. Going for just shy of 25 minutes, the match ended when Taker and Kane hit simultaneous chokeslams on Edge and Angle, while Mysterio nailed his nemesis with a splash for a triple pin after giving all 3 heels a 619, according to reports. If anyone from the WWE Network is watching this video, and why wouldn't they be, please scour the archives to see if any footage of this exists, post-haste! Number 3, Brock Lesnar vs Mr. Perfect. Prior to being called up to WWE's main roster, Brock Lesnar worked plenty of non-televised live events and dark matches to get him ready for the big stage. For a few of these, the next big thing got to tangle with his Minnesota running buddy Mr. Perfect, Curt Hennig, who had returned to the company in the 2002 Royal Rumble. In fact, some of Hennig's first matches back were against the impressive rookie, including 1 dark match at a TV taping and 2 house show bouts. In their respective primes, this would have been a genuine dream match and an interesting styles clash of technique and guile versus power and brute force. Their dark match has cropped up online and does basically follow that formula for the 5 minutes it lasts, with the crafty Kurt putting him away with the perfect plex. Hennig actually won the other 2 matches as well, giving him a perfect record against Brock Lesnar. That said, Brock reportedly won the unscheduled rematch at 30,000 feet during the notorious plane ride from hell, for which Hennig was fired after, so I reckon they called it even. Number 2, Jake Roberts versus Hulk Hogan. On paper, a feud and resultant big money matches between Hulk Hogan and Jake Roberts in their 1980s heydays is a total no-brainer. The Hulkster was the consummate hero, while the Snake was one of the most despicable villains in the business. Their characters were clearly well-defined, and the idea of them squaring off would have been intriguing and certainly drawn interest, and therefore money. So, why didn't it happen? Well, legend is that a proper Hogan-Roberts program was planned, but Hulk got cold feet after a snake pit segment where Jake hit him with a DDT, and some fans actually cheered the result. The segment was shelved from its intended broadcast and remains locked in a vault somewhere, as was a major match or series of matches between Jake and Hulk. The match did take place on some house shows in late 1986 and early 87, however, with Hogan retaining his WWE title twice in Providence and once in Winnipeg, but Vince McMahon refused to book it anymore, much to the chagrin of Roberts, who wanted in on that red and yellow payday, brother. One final Jake Roberts vs. Hulk Hogan match took place in Springfield, Massachusetts in January of 1992. Number 1, The Undertaker vs. Eddie Guerrero. The aforementioned star-studded six-man from Japan was one of only a handful of occasions that Eddie Guerrero and The Undertaker met in the squared circle. The only time they significantly interacted on camera was during the four-way WWE title main event of Armageddon 2004. Their exchanges were the best thing about the match, and the whole show for that matter, and hinted that a singles outing would be well worth watching. Regrettably, WWE failed to book the match before Latino Heat passed away, or at least they failed to book it for television or pay-per-view, that is. But bang in the middle of Eddie's summer 2005 feud with Rey Mysterio, he took a break from losing to Little Ray Ray to put over the dead man in 4 consecutive house shows. 2 of them were main events, while the other 2 were in the semi-main position, and unsurprisingly, Taker won the lot. One of the few to witness at least one of the meetings was former SmackDown head writer Alex Greenfield, who put it over as a tour de force that revolved around Guerrero trying to remove his opponent's eye.